You're listening to a 58 Ember production.
Hey, welcome to Well Made. My name is Kat Kamalani. Here we dive deep into topics like wellness, food, money, relationships, motherhood, and achieving your wildest dreams. Because I promise, if I can do it, I know you can too. We sit with experts and get into the nitty-gritty where they spill all their secrets with me. So get cozy, relax, and let's have a heart-to-heart chat. All right, welcome to Well Made, you guys. This is going to be an episode all about dating and marriage and who else to have on this show besides the one, the only, Keloni Kamalani.
What's up?
Okay, a lot of questions we get is, how did you guys meet? So should we do the brief breakdown of how we met before we jump into everything else?
Yeah, go ahead. How about it?
Me?
Yeah.
All right. So Keloni played football at University of Oregon. He was not a cheerleader, and he will tell you he was a cheerleader, but he was not a cheerleader. He played football there. He's from Hawaii, Maui, the island.
Yes.
And I went to University of Utah, went up to Oregon for a scholarship, and we met each other at church. We were walking and we saw each other. And for me, it was not like love at first sight. I saw you sandwiched in between like 2'6'5", like 300-pound,
Okay.
like defense
What are you going to say? I'm your short king next?
No,
Dang.
you're not short.
Dang.
But like, I remember looking and it was like your teammate and then you and then your teammate. And I was like, oh, dang, these poly dudes are huge. But you held your ground. Anyway, Keloni's teammate / roommate. You lived with like 5 different teammates and polys. Was into me. I don't know. Did he go home? He went home and claimed me or something. I don't know.
He was essentially, all he said was, there's a few like girls at church. I think you should come. He's like, I call this one though. You can have the other one. You can pick from the other ones. And so he claimed you. And so.
Yeah. So you didn't pursue me at all because it was bro code, but I was not into him at all. So I was kind of using him a little bit to get to you because I thought you were gorgeous and stunning, but all the girls was into Keloni. So that kind of was a turnoff to me because I didn't want to be another like girl chasing him. But anyway, I would hang out at your house a lot. And I remember there's this girl there that you were kind of seeing. And I remember watching you make her a dish and serve it to her before you ate. And I was in love, and I was so heartbroken that you weren't serving me that dish of chicken and rice. First you cooked it, then you served her, and then you cleaned everything up. And I thought, oh my gosh, this guy is like boyfriend
I got a
material.
maid. How do I get him to my house? No, I'm just kidding.
So after some time of dropping 1,000 hits that I liked you, you finally made your move, and we were like inseparable. From there.
There, saw you every single day.
Every day.
Yep.
We living there for 3.5 years before we got married. So let's jump into like marriage questions. I want to know from your perspective, someone who is dating, what are some things that you should look for when you're looking in for a spouse or when you're dating somebody, if it's red flags, green flags, like for you as a man, what was that?
At least for me, when we were kind of beginning stages, I just love the independency. Mm-hmm. Like, you're very independent, and you had this what separated you and what made me just be like, okay, this is a girl I want to actually like get tied down to, like have a relationship with, was just like your energy. Your energy was so vibrant. You like lit up the room. It was very just this positiveness that I wanted to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And so if you're just in the early stages of dating, like date somebody that's not an energy sucker, someone that's bringing you up or trying to help you better yourself. And I feel like I got that out of you.
You're
from
so
you.
Sweet. I also think too, it's for me important when I was looking at dating somebody was first date a lot, but then also when I was dating someone, I had to imagine if my child ended up to be exactly like them, would I be proud of that? If I had a son who ended up exactly like the person I was dating or married to, I would totally go forward with that. But every guy that I was dating, there's always something that I would not be proud if that was my child. And that really helped guide me. Another thing too, is that when we were stepping into marriage, I'm glad we dated for so long because we went through so many different trials with like cultural differences, family differences. We were on the same page about religion, but we went through so many different seasons in life. So I always say like date the person all 4 seasons before you commit.
What does that mean exactly for our audience?
Yeah.
I know what that means, but
I always say summer, spring, fall, winter, go through all 4 seasons with someone and take a big travel trip with them before you dive into it.
yeah, I like that a lot. And I also just think you're at a day and age where honestly, like, would it be great to be married so that you have something official? Yes, but don't rush it. Just take your time through the whole process because you don't want to have to do it again. You know, people joke about it like, oh, this is my first one, you know, like, but at the end of the day, you only want to really do it once because you fell in love or you want to be in love with the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life.
I will have to say though, I would not have gotten married if I didn't know divorce was an option. The only reason why I got married is because divorce is an option to me. And we talked about that because we grew up in a really strict religion, both of us that we have now left. And divorce is not an option in that religion. You're married for time and eternity. And I never subscribed to that because for me, it says I can treat you however I want to, and I can do whatever I want, and I can become whatever I want to, and just have this like messiness, dark cloud, but you're stuck and you can't go anywhere. So the only reason why I got married is because for me, it's like, I can't treat you like crap and you can't treat me like crap. And we can't have an affair or be physically, emotionally, mentally abusive and expect the other person to stick around. Like one of our sayings here is like, no one's a prisoner. And so it's kind of reassuring, I feel like, to me every day that like you're choosing to be with me and you know I'm choosing to be with you, because anytime either one of us can get up and leave if we're not happy or we don't feel like the other person is giving the respect that we deserve.
Absolutely. And I think it took me a while to understand that concept because of the way we were brought up. Because I'm like, how could you say that or whatever? But I've come to realize that, yeah, if you're not being treated with respect and you're not doing that for your partner, like why would you tell your daughter, our own kids in the same situation, like why would you stick around for somebody that does that to you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that a lot.
I think one of the best pieces of advice we got from marriage. You love this. Why don't you say it? This is your jam.
If I'm thinking of the same thing that you are, it's just that you never talk about your relationship with anyone. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go deeper in that. Why?
So if you go and talk to your girlfriend, if I go talk to my homies, you talk to your girlfriends about what's going on in our life, you know, our intimate details, like you're trying to vent to them, you know, they're going to listen to you. They're going to side with you. And what that does is paint a picture of your spouse in that image. And so they'll remember that. They'll have that image when they see you. And it happens to us where people vent to us or say stuff. And I'm like, now I have this image of that person and I'm not in love with that person. So I don't forget. I don't just see all the good. I see the bad and the good. And it's very prevalent, you know? So I just think if you need to talk to somebody to vent, which is something that every relationship needs and people should do, they got to do it in the right way. And that's with a therapist. You know?
Yeah. That was the best piece of advice.
Someone that's even side, they're not taking sides and they're just listening and they're giving you the tools and resources to help you. Yeah.
I have never sat and talked about our marriage with anyone. And when a friend comes to me and vents, it's really hard because on one side, you want to be a sounding board to somebody and you want to like be there for somebody. But at the same time, going back, I'm not a therapist and I'm not a marriage counselor. And I shouldn't be in the position where I'm giving advice to somebody. I was in a friend group with these 2 other girls and they were best friends for like years. And I think you know who I'm talking about. You'll know. And anyway, one of them was talking about her husband to the other gal. And the other gal is saying like, you should leave. He's not worth it. And she was just venting in that moment. And she got really upset. She's like, I'm just venting. Like, I don't need you to fix it. I'm just venting. So then friend B comes to me and starts talking about her friend's marriage of like how he's a loser and like all this stuff. he's not a loser. He's a pilot. He's has it very well together. He's very kind. It's just every marriage goes through something hard. But she was talking about her marriage to me, and they're talking about each other's husbands to each other, and they secretly hate each other's husbands now, and they're best friends because they hear all the crap that happens. Thankfully for like me, I'm just like not judgmental and I don't judge people. I let everyone have their own journey. But I think it is really important to get a therapist. You brush your teeth to prevent cavities. You put on sunscreen to prevent cancer and getting sunburned. Like, why would you not go to a therapist to prevent divorce or problems arising?
Absolutely. And I think we're moving into the day and age that therapy isn't just for people that are crazy, you know? So it's something that I've always taught. I used to be in the fire department, and I'd be like, people are venting to me the same way that they were for you. And I'm like, I'm telling you, you need to go see a therapist. Like, I know you guys don't want to, or, you know, but like, just try it out. Try for a few sessions, get some tools and resources, because I can't help. Yeah. I'm not an expert, you know?
Yeah.
So
one of the things that like is hard in marriage, because every single marriage is so hard. I mean, every marriage is so hard, but for me, one of the biggest mind shifts I had to do in marriage is for a long time, I thought you were supposed to make me happy. And that's not true at all. I've realized over the years that we've been married is that I am supposed to make myself happy, that you are just like the cherry on top. But you are not responsible for my mental health. You're not responsible for my happiness. You're not responsible for any of that. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up too, is like in a marriage, your spouse is supposed to just compliment you and add life to your life and happiness, but is not supposed to complete you, because one day that spouse will leave, whether it is them leaving or them dying, they will leave and they'll no longer be there. And who's going to make you happy then?
yeah, I definitely like that. And I think also along the same lines, it's not so much when you're looking for a partner or a spouse that like, what do they have to offer? It's like, what do I have to offer them?
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you bring to the table? Like, what kind of attributes or monetarily, like emotionally, do you have that brings the relationship up together?
Yeah. So we don't have a perfect marriage, even
No.
though it may seem like that. And
Not at
we
all.
have lots of downfalls, but we have learned a lot. And so what are some top things that you would say if you're giving someone a piece of advice in dating or marriage of respecting your partner? Like, what are some things that you should absolutely do? And I can go first if you want to.
Yeah, why don't you start?
Okay. Well, obviously the first one is not talk about your spouse to other people. The other thing is learning each other's communication skills or communication language. So for me, I grew up where we went to our rooms if like there was an emotion being presented and you kind of learned with it, like to deal with it on your own. And I feel like I've gotten really good in tuned with my spirit and myself and being present and understanding my body and my emotions, that when I start to feel myself get angry, I don't want to say or do anything that I regret. And so I like to, you know, take a step back and take like at least 30 minutes and just cope by myself and then get into a more clear headspace. Because scientifically, you cannot communicate with anyone when you are thinking angry and upset. It's just like a child who's having really big emotions. They can't think clearly. You have to first connect with them and bring them down before you can talk about it. And that was I feel like a learning curve for us, for you to understand my style of thinking, because with you like to get things done and over with and like talk right then. That second. So I think figuring out each other's way you guys communicate and understanding that not one way is right and one way is wrong. It's just the way you do it. But there is some compromise because now we do appointments. So there's something that Keloni and I do if I'm feeling like frustrated or like the conversation's not going anywhere and I feel like it's going in circles. I have to be direct and like treat it like a meeting. Like, okay, like A, B, C, D, and E. And sometimes you'll be like, no, it's okay. Like to go around and like talk about things. And I just like to get things over and done with and direct, where I finally go, okay, we need to set an appointment for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, later tonight. Let's put a pin in it and we'll talk about it again. And for you, that helped a lot to realize, okay, we're going to talk this through and we're going to figure it out.
Yeah, it's just the most effective way. Or this is part of knowing your spouse, because what we like, one of the things we learned for us specifically in therapy was like, you're legit like a cat, you know. Cats don't like to be held down, you know, when they're upset. So like, when they're upset, you gotta let them go, else you get the claws, you know.
Yeah.
So like that was like one of the things I've just stuck into my head. And then, but when the cat is ready, they'll come back and you pet them and they purr, and they purr, you know. See, is it working? But it's legit, you know. You just have to find out what works for your partner, and you have to remember that just because it works for you doesn't mean it works for your partner. And no matter how much you want it to, you're not going to change that.
Yeah. You've read actually quite a few marriage books. What's one of your favorite
Yeah, I really
ones?
need them. No.
What's one of your favorite marriage books?
Oh, what's the one that I just finished? One that you're reading right now.
Oh, it's the 7 principles.
Some principles that make marriages work or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one in that.
That's been my favorite. It just gives you so many different tools. And it's one that you could probably read often, you know, like more than once, to just brush up on things to help the marriage.
Yeah.
What do you feel like has helped us stay strong throughout all the trials that we've done?
This is such a good question. I feel like where we really succeed at is being a team and putting each other first. We've gone through a lot of crap, and especially with family. There is family when we were dating who didn't want us to be together, and who, what's a kind word to say? They just weren't very nice people. And from the very beginning, you made it so clear that I'm your number one, and you put everything and everyone behind me. I am first come with you. And I think that's what we do a really good job at, is that we don't treat each other like I'm your mother and you're my father. We don't ask each other to do things. I don't ask if I can go do a girls' night. You don't ask if you can do a boys' night. We have a calendar where that has everything on it. And if you want to go golfing with the boys, you say, hey, Thursday, I'm going to go golfing with the boys at 1. I didn't see anything on the calendar. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Like, you just run it past me, versus like nails on a chalkboard to me is if you used to do this, it'd be like, hey, can I go golfing at 1:00? And I'm like, I am not your mom. Like, you are your own individual.
Yeah.
And so one thing I think we really do is treat each other with respect. We put each other first, and nobody comes before the other person.
Yeah.
What about you?
I definitely feel like what we talked about earlier, just not talking about your relationship to anybody else. Like, I felt like that was big for us, because what that did in turn was get the help we needed. And then we're able to communicate with each other. Like, that's what I feel like has helped us get through all the hard times. And it just takes time. Like, sometimes, like, straight up, I've messed up a lot and done a lot of things that, you know, I can't take back. But with that being said, I have to go on the way you feel, and the time that it takes you to recover from whatever it is, the argument or fight that we might have had.
If you are questioning the relationship you're in or the marriage you're in, I want to read this to you because this is really important. Oh, it says, if you are unsure about your relationship, try asking yourself these 5 questions. Number 1, if someone told you you are a lot like your partner, would you take this as a compliment? Number 2, are you truly fulfilled or just less lonely? That's a hard one. Number 3, are you able to be unapologetically yourself, or do you feel like you need to show up differently to please your partner? Number 4, are you in love with who your partner is right now as a whole, or are you only in love with their good side, their potential, or the idea of them? Number 5, would you want your future or imagined child to date someone like your partner?
I mean,
that's deep.
That's some hard, tough questions, you know, people really got to think about.
That's deep. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? Is when we had a baby, 2 babies to be exact, 3 babies. We had a miscarriage first, and then at 14 weeks, and then our 2 babies following, where there's times in marriages where it is so freaking hard, where there's going to be really high highs and low lows, and then there's going to be just like even kills. But with that being said, is I feel like you should never make a decision in your life about anything, especially something with your partner, when you are in summer, meaning like you're super happy, or when you're in winter and you're super sad. So, for example, in summer, you're super good with your spouse. Everything's amazing and butterflies and rainbows. Like, don't do a big life event, like move to another state. Or when you're in winter, like you just had a baby and your hormones are crazy, you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you're not doing the exercise, you just lost your job, money's tight, whatever it may be, like you're in winter right now. Like you shouldn't be making any changes or definitive decisions for your family. Wait till you can get to spring where things are a little bit more even kill and you're not in the height of these emotions.
Yeah, just to touch up on that too, that also goes along with just arguments in general. Like, don't make any abrupt decisions when you're upset. Like when you have an argument, you're really upset. Like you're like, you know, you literally have these thoughts in your head, like I can't be with this person, or I don't want to be with this person. Like give yourself a time to cool down, because when you're only seeing red, it doesn't do you any service, you know?
One thing that I felt like I needed to prove on with our marriage that I quickly realized through therapy, and this is why therapy is amazing, because it realizes if you're not a narcissist, you can look at yourself and realize what you do wrong and how you can improve on yourself. And thank goodness you're not a narcissist or me. So we both can do this. Like we both tried to meet with a therapist and figure out, okay, how can we improve on ourselves? So one of the things that, or what black and white thinking is, when you go to an extremes of something. So for example, I feel like I'm the worst mom ever because when I'm at the beach, I don't go in the water with my kids. So my kids are going to think that I never played with them. So that's an extreme. That's a black and white thinking because you're using the words always and never. But then on the flip side, it can be, you know, a positive thing. I always do this. I never do this, for a positive thing. And that's one thing that I did with black and white thinking with you. And one thing I also felt like that helped me get out of that is realizing those key words of always and never. And truly, Keloni, like I wish every person knew who Keloni was, because he is near perfect for me.
I don't know about that.
Yes, it's so true. Like I hope that our daughter marries someone exactly like you, and I hope our son ends up exactly like you, truly. And
You're so sweet.
one of the things is that I realized with therapy that I put you on a pedestal because you are so good to me and so good to my family and our kids and every person in my life, my girlfriends and everyone you talk to. You're just respectful. And so I put you like way up here. And so when you do something that is like a mistake or accident or anything like that, it's a long drop from that pedestal. And I realized it's putting you so far up that you're coming down. So one of the things I've had to train myself is like not putting you on the pedestal because you didn't ask to be on the pedestal. You are just doing you. And I think that's really important with like marriages, is that you're not putting your spouse on this imaginary pedestal. So when they do mess up, it's this really long drop. And you think that black and white thinking like, oh, this will never work, or this won't work out. I can't, he never does that, or he always does this. But
well, that's really kind and sweet of you. I think along that too, it's not that you can't think very highly of your partner, right? It's just the fact that having black and white thinking that they have to be 100% right all the time and that they're going to be that well all the time. You know, everyone's human and you will make mistakes. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah. I do feel like too, like when we did get married, there was something that was really special about that marriage, going into it and realizing like we are now one family. And one of the most important things is eliminating anyone or anything that tries to tear your family apart. So if you're chatting with a friend about your spouse, like stop it now. Or if they're saying like you need to get out, obviously for safety issues, if it's a physical or an emotional, mentally, physically, emotionally abuse with a marriage, like yes, that's different. But like if you're having a tough time with a spouse and I feel like there's somebody trying to rip you away, like your family, they should be in your corner saying like, go talk to a therapist or go do that. And that was like a big thing for us, is like, we eliminated everything and everyone out of our life that was like trying to rip us apart. And I feel like it made us way stronger for that, like as a unit. But anyway, do you have anything else to add for that before I jump into questions from viewers?
No, I think that's beautiful. I like that.
Okay, let's pivot. So I asked my viewers some questions on marriage. And Vicky Burns 95 asked, how do you guys keep the spark alive with having 2 small kids?
I think spark comes down to making time for your spouse.
How so?
Anytime that you can get separation from your kids is the time that I think is very beneficial for your marriage or your partnership, because it is so crazy with life in general, especially with 2 of you. And then when you add children into the mix, you just get stuck in the monotonous times of every single day. And then your spouse gets left behind because your children at some point take priority because they require so much of you. So in order to keep the spark alive, that means that we make time for each other, whether that's dates or just going to Costco with each other and some mom and dad are watching the kids, just anything that requires you two to be alone and to reconnect together. Like one of my favorite things that we do to reconnect is go to Oregon. We go to a football game where we fell in love. Like, it's my favorite thing that we do.
To piggyback on that too, it made me think of something. So keeping the spark alive, I think also is like creating a hobby with each other and without each other, where you are your own identity and I'm my own identity. And I don't expect you to like and do everything I like and vice versa.
Yeah, like I despise hiking. But you love it.
It's true. But I think it is important to start hobbies together where you're learning something new together, that I'm not stepping into your world and you're teaching me and you're stepping into my world and I'm teaching you. But so some of the things that we like to do together is like pickleball. I just started picking up pickleball because you do. And I'm like, oh, I want to learn to play pickleball with him. But you don't love hiking. So I'm like, okay, that's something I do with my girlfriends. And you love surfing and spearfishing and being in the ocean. And that's something I'm learning to try to do. But having our own separate identities and then having something together is so important.
And I don't know how much we want to divulge on here, but I think spark also comes down to sex life.
Oh, 100%.
If we're being honest, like that's a big part of the relationship. And I feel like we've gotten so much better about being clear and open about that. Like what each of our needs are and making sure that those needs are met.
And it's communicating outside of the bedroom.
Yes.
It's like, it is, I think, so important to sit and have those open conversations, in which, again, stepping out of away from a religion, it felt so weird to even talk about that subject at first because it was like so taboo. And then all of a sudden you're married and you can do it. And it's like, so for us, it's like making time that's not in the bedroom, but like talking about it outside of it and getting fun with it, not having it. Anna 12 asked how to be patient with your partner. It is so hard sometimes.
Okay, I learned this from you. Being patient with your partner doesn't mean that you have to agree with them right away. And so something that's really big, if either of us are getting frustrated, we just leave the situation because, if nothing productive is coming out of that, it allows you time to come back down and have that patience to discuss or do whatever is necessary in that moment.
Yeah, I agree. This is probably really deep, but one thing that's really helped me with patience is understanding where you came from and understanding everyone has trauma and crap they bring to a marriage, where whatever it may be, the way that you grew up, or, if you were in war, or if you were in a previous marriage, or you're in a previous dating relationship that brought some type of trauma or shaped you to who you are. Everyone brings that to the table, and it's up to you to make sure you don't bring your trauma to the table and you don't put it on, whether you mean to or not, because everyone acts the way they do because of their childhood. And so for me, it was really understanding like your childhood and the trauma, everything you've had in your life with firefighting and calls, and seeing the things you do and why you're acting the way you do. Because there's times where you would go to a call and you would be gone for 2 days, and then you come home and you didn't want to dump trauma dump onto me. Like that wasn't my place to pick up on your trauma. And I could tell that like you were more sure or irritable or whatever it may be. And as time went on, I'm like, I saw like little trigger things. And it wasn't until we started talking to like a professional therapist about the trauma that I realized you had some really, really traumatic calls with like either children or whatever it may be. And so coming home, you were more quiet, or you didn't get sleep or whatever. So it's understanding that person and trying not to be the person who brings trauma and figure your crap out before you get married.
I love that. That's awesome. And along that same lines, like if you do have trauma, go talk to somebody about it. That's not your job to fix that.
Yeah. I think we do a really good job about I feel like we've just really been obsessed with like self-help and like therapy and just over our trauma bonding of what we've been through together with outside sources and like by ourselves, our childhood, with everything, adulthood. We've just really like dived into the self-help world, and it's really exposed us to understanding ourselves and our partners a lot better, which like I absolutely love. Anyway, I know that was a deep one, but I think that's going to be really beneficial for people who are dating or in marriage. And again, we are not perfect by all means, but I do feel like we have a really healthy boundary in our marriage, and I really respect our marriage, and I respect you as a person.
And I definitely noticed it, and we make a good team together.
Okay.
You know, a part of the partnership is that you fell in love with me for who I am, and I fell in love with you for who you are. Like when what that means is not trying to change your partner to what you want them to be, you know?
Yeah.
Help them see their highest potential.
Yeah. We were just talking about this the other day of like how different we've been together 3.5 years. We were together, and then now we've been married almost 9 years.
We've been together about 12 years in total.
Yeah. With dating and marriage. And we are not at all the same people of when we started dating. And it's understanding like people are supposed to change, and it's okay for people to change. And in fact, there would be something really wrong if someone did not change. And it's allowing your spouse to change and evolve and change the way they think, they move and grow and do everything, and allow you space to do that too and change and grow together. And so my interest and who I am as a person is not who I was when we met, and vice versa. But I allow space for you to become the man and the person you want to be. And you allow me space to like go chase my dreams and be the person I want to be.
Oh, I like that.
Anyway, well, I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much. And we are going to link all our social medias below. If you loved this podcast, please share it with somebody that is struggling, or share it with a family or friend. And we will see you guys next time on Well Made.
Love you.
Love you. If you were inspired by today's episode, I encourage you to tag me on social media at Kat Keloni so I can personally thank you myself. I would love to hear your thoughts on my podcast, so go ahead and leave a review. So high five for finishing the episode and trying to better yourself. I hope you found it informative, inspiring, and thought-provoking. I will see you again soon for another episode. Take care.
This has been a 58 Ember production. For more shows, please visit the 58 Ember channel, 58ember.com, or find us at 58 Ember Media on socials.